Karen tows me and her kids egg my truck. Should I press charges? This is called The New Neighbors. Check out this video in podcast form by searching Austin Stories wherever you listen, or check the video description for a link. Well, I had a heck of a weekend that should have been nice and relaxing. To start, I went to visit my parents this weekend, who are both just yes. My parents live in a fairly expensive and safe public neighborhood that they retired to after a long career life. Nice school in the community, a few community pools, a few trails in the same area. Average homes here are around $1.5 million. But because it's a public community, meaning it has no gate to enter, it picks up crime every few years. Lately, there have been break-ins near the top area of the community. When there is crime in a normally safe area, this can put some people on edge, reporting everything. My mom got reported for walking the family dog at 7 p.m. on the same loop that she does every day at the same time for the past 5 years. A bit on me. I'm 6 foot, big beard, bald head, moderately built, and tend to wear button-down shirts when I'm not working. Where my story begins is just outside my parents' place. Since it's a public community, all the streets are public as well. It isn't illegal to park here if you aren't a resident. It's just out of the way of anything but homes, so there isn't really a reason that anyone who isn't visiting or living here should park here. I have a brand new Chevy Colorado ZR2, a truck. I parked it literally outside my parents' house and visible from their living room window, which is where we were sitting and talking. I'd say about 45 minutes later, a tow truck pulls up and starts hooking up to my truck. I ran out yelling obscenities. Tow truck says they had a call about an illegally parked vehicle. After explaining that it's a public area and is by no means illegal to park here, I asked for the contact info of the reporting individual. I didn't get much, just a first name, Karen, just for the sake of the story. So I asked my parents, and they gave a fair-sized frown like they already knew it had to be her. My parents had new neighbors that moved across the street a few months back. I'll save some of their stories for another time. I'd rather not get too sidetracked. So I walk over to the house. I see various toys and such all over their front side of the house. A bit messy, but I was a mess as a kid too. Knock, knock. No answer. Ring the buzzer, which is one of the Ring cameras. I then hear a bit of yelling at her kids to stop running around. Now I know she's home, so I just kept ringing the door. As I'm waiting, I notice that she has multiple cameras on me. This is important later. So she finally answers the door. She asks me, "What do I want?" in a B tone. In a calm voice, because she seemed a bit annoyed already. "Why did you call a tow truck on my vehicle?" I said. Karen says, "You shouldn't be parking there. I've never seen you before. It's illegal to park here if you're not a resident. We don't need convicts around here looking for homes to case." I say, "Convicts? What the heck? Why the heck would you think that? This is a public street. I can legally park here anytime I wish. I'm visiting my parents, and I have a right to park here without being towed. Leave my truck alone or I'm not even going to elaborate." And then I walked away. Not 10 minutes later, I looked into the window to see 2 boys, maybe 10 years old, egging my truck. I ran outside, grabbed the hose, and sprayed the boys in my truck down. Thank God for a thick wax coat. Guess which house those 2 boys ran to? I decided to leave it be. I'm leaving in 30 minutes anyways. 15 minutes later, a police officer walks in front of our door. I open it and I talk with the officer. He says, "Hey, is that your truck?" "Yes, it is, officer." "We received a report that the owner of that truck was driving recklessly in the neighborhood and almost ran over 2 children. After getting out of the vehicle, he yelled at the children and proceeded to hose them down with a strong water hose." "Officer, that is a heck of a story. Would you be interested in coming into my parents' home and we'll pull up the cameras while I explain my side of the story?" He accepted and we entered the house. While we viewed my parents' cameras and I explained the sequences leading up to the current events, I explained the full conversation that I had with Karen, including her insinuating that I was a convict and that I partially made a threat. I apologized that I should have caught myself sooner. I also mentioned the multiple cameras Karen has at her door. "Thank you for your time," the officer says. "I may be back in a bit after I have a talk with your neighbor." 20 minutes and a bit of yelling in the background later. "I've talked with the neighbor about her and her children's actions. Would you be interested in pressing charges for the destruction of property?" "No, officer. They're just kids, likely doing what Karen told them to. Were you able to check her cameras?" Alright, no, she denied access. She shouldn't be bothering you again, but if she does, please don't hesitate to call the non-emergency line and ask for myself directly. I left not long after. So far, there hasn't been any retaliation against my parents. With all the cameras we have in this day and age, how are you just not thinking that you're going to get caught? You always hear the times growing up like, oh, if we had all the cell phones that they have now when I was growing up, all the stupid stuff I would have been caught doing would have been on camera and uploaded to social media and stuff. Oh, this is a crazy story. What would have you done? The HOA doesn't like my project car, so I've decided to park it legally in front of the neighborhood's grand entrance. For context, my family and I recently moved into a rental house while our new house is being built. The rental is in the back of a gated community on a mostly undeveloped street. Yesterday, I received a letter from the Homeowners Association informing me that I'm not in compliance of the strictly enforced by towing restriction, stating that vehicles may not be parked on the street overnight. In the letter was a picture of my project car, an old BMW, parked beside our house on the street. I decided to look up the HOA's restrictions, which I haven't seen before since I'm a renter, and I discovered that I'm living in HOA heck. The street parking rule is just the beginning of a long list of restrictions, including one warranting a hefty fine for leaving the garage door open when not in use. This came as a huge surprise, since several of my neighbors have parked their cars on the street without problem since I've lived here, so I assumed that it was okay. I can only imagine that they've singled me out because my car is 30 years old. However, in my defense, it's very presentable and by no means junky. Being singled out made me incredibly frustrated to the point where I started doing legal research. Turns out, my HOA has every right to tow my project car since it's parked on a private street in the neighborhood. The good news for me is that the street just outside the neighborhood is public and it's 100% legal to park it on any amount of time. Unfortunately for the HOA, the closest section of public street to my rental house is right in front of their nice gated entrance. Ironically, my old BMW has now become part of their image, and there's nothing they can do about it until I move out in a few months. This one's beautiful because you're just sticking it straight to the HOA. They say don't do this, you say alright, cool, but you follow the rules so they can't do anything about it. Love it. What have you done? Insane neighbor story. So, background, I live in a condo complex with the long single-story basement units and skinny two-story units on top. It's not a horribly sketchy part of town, but it's certainly not pristine. I'm in the basement unit and I can hear everything that my upstairs neighbors are doing. That's fine, I mean it's part of living underneath someone, no problem at all there. So I've got 2 units above my place, and the one closest to my front door has a family of pretty sketchy people living up there, always coming and going with random crap. Twice now, I've watched them bring multiple TVs into their unit, only to take them out and load them up into their car. They fight regularly, and I've been woken up a couple times from that. When we moved in 2 years ago, the father, I assume, was pretty cold to me and never said hello. Didn't even respond to a "what's up" nod. Okay, I thought to myself, that's fine, he just doesn't want to be friends. I'm alright with that, I don't need to be friends with everybody around here. But today, he was a total anus hole. I was out in the parking area helping my girlfriend fix up her bumper. I forgot a tool inside, so I was on my way back into my unit. When passing my upstairs neighbor's little balcony, I hear this from above me. "Hey, jerk!" I look up and he continues, "Quit slamming your freaking door. I'm getting real ticked off." Dude, what are you going on about? I don't slam my door. We just have to close it tightly every time. Well, who the heck is slamming your door then? Dude, you just need to chill out. No one's slamming that door. We just have to push it closed because the weather stripping is thick. Well, frickin' fix it. It is fixed. The thick weather stripping is the fix. Quit slamming the frickin' door. You don't want to screw with me. You're screwing with the wrong guy. At this point, I'm getting pretty riled up. Of course, but I'm only really just trying to stay calm in spite of him losing his frickin' mind. I'm not screwing with you, dude. I'm not slamming the frickin' door, dude. At this point, he turns to go in, mumbling some expletives, as one does. That exchange wasn't totally verbatim, but the start and finish certainly is. So for the record, I do not slam my door. I push or pull it closed and then give it a little push and tug so the latch catches. That's it. I'm a little spooked about what he might do next. I'm getting the ball rolling on my end, but he could call up his boys and mess my stuff up if I do anything. Wow, what a jerk. I just love to figure out what he considers slamming and come to a resolution. But I don't think he'd be responsive to a regular people let's find a solution chat. I mean, I'd want to leave the guy alone in a way, because you never know what'll make him just go off the end, because he already sounds like a little door shutting gets him mad. How would you handle a neighbor like this? HOA filed a lien on our home, even though we've been paying them monthly since we bought the place. My wife and I are facing a bit of a strange quandary, and we would love any feedback you may have regarding an issue with our HOA. We're located in northern Utah. To put it simply, we received a notice of our HOA filing a lien against us and our house for overdue payments, threatening to foreclose on our home if we don't pay them 2.5 years worth of back pay from when we first bought our place. The thing is, we've been paying the HOA monthly since we've moved here. They've sent us a bill for $96 every month, and we're always prompt with our payments. And then, out of nowhere, we got this notice yesterday saying that we owe them an additional $600 plus $350 for legal fees. So I called the legal team that they're using, and I found out that apparently we're supposed to be paying 2 HOAs. The one we've been paying regularly is the smaller, more local HOA, and there's a larger master HOA that also expects payment from us, roughly $19 or $20 per month. Except we've never heard of this parent company. They've never contacted us once, let alone to send a bill of any kind. All HOA contact that we've ever had was with the smaller local company that we're familiar with. So this lien and legal notice is literally the first we have ever heard of these people or any financial responsibility that we have to them. As far as we've been aware, for the last 2+ years, we were completely square on our homeowner fees. We were worried it might be a scam, so we checked with our neighbors and they confirmed it. There is definitely a second HOA. Not only that, they went through a nearly identical situation, minus the lien, a few months back, and implied that several others in our neighborhood have had to deal with this very thing. My question is, do we have any legal basis to push back on this? Obviously, we are happy to pay any bills moving forward, provided they actually ever send us a bill for once. But we are in no position to suddenly cough up $600 back pay for a fee that we didn't even know existed 2 days ago. At the very least, even if they force us to pay the $600, I would hope that we can convince them to cover their own legal fees. After all, if they had ever sent us correspondence of any kind, a letter, an email, a phone call, anything to let us know that they existed and expected payment, they never would have needed to get a lawyer involved in the first place. I'm in the process of creating a written statement contesting the fees and don't want to be so bold that I shoot myself in the foot. But the whole thing seems genuinely preposterous to me. We always try to stay on top of our bills, and since we didn't know this second HOA even existed, I honestly don't know what we could have done differently to avoid this situation. Do you agree with this? To grab all the CC&R documents from when you bought the house, get a real estate lawyer, and have them review it to see if they have any other questions on that, and then they say it's a common ploy to jack up cost. And then this commenter wonders if there's a second HOA parent, they'd be interested to know if they're run by the same company as the child one that they've been paying. What would you do? This sounds very strange. Let me know. Buy my program when you fire me? No? Okay. I was employed at a rather large factory, which is one of the largest plant-based companies in the world, recently bought by an investment firm not so long ago. Anyways, I developed a program which was used at the factory. It could tell whenever any machines were not running, even if it was due to a manual stop or anything else. My program knew the reason why the machine was idling. This program made it so much easier for the entire factory. Workers were happy because they didn't need to do any manual work and write down every time the machine stopped. Lead up to about a year ago. The factory appoints a new chief. All the old employees that were in a leader position were let go because it was time for, quote, new blood to come in, end quote. There was a lot of talk about selling off parts of the factory, including machines and so on. This included programs that I had developed, including the program that identified whenever a machine stopped. I developed this program on my spare time. I showed it to the old management and they liked it enough that they wanted to use it on every station in the factory. Every machine was to use this program, and all that had to be done was for the program to be maintained weekly. This was around 5 years ago or so. When the newly appointed factory chief wanted to let the old employees, me included, leave, it was not known that I was the person behind that program. Anyways, at my meeting with HR and the factory chief, I said that I was willing to sell them the program and teach someone how to maintain the program. The factory chief laughed in my face and said that it was company property and that it was simply their program and not mine. I offered to show them the source code and everything, but it led up to the point to where if I was to tamper with the program before my departure, they would sue me. I was officially let go. 2-month countdown began, and after 2 months, I was free. After a week or so, they noticed problems with the program. It would stop loading, stop registering stops, and it would mislabel stops. I knew that this was when the fun was about to begin. After about a month, I was called into the office and was told that I had tampered with the program because it had suddenly stopped working. I let them know that someone had to maintain it. I was ordered to teach someone how to do that job, and I told them, well, after you pay me for the program rights. They wouldn't budge, and I was told to return to work. When I had a week left, I strolled around the factory floor for a while and noticed that no stations were running my program anymore. I asked some operators why that was, and they told me it just stopped working. Now we need to fill out forms every time the machine stops manually. I shrugged and told them to thank the factory chief. I left after that week. I got a phone call about a month after I left where they begged me to sell them the rights and teach someone how to maintain it. I never sold them that program. Instead, I sold an improved version to another factory nearby, where I am now employed. Now, I see some people say that I'm in the wrong based on US law. Just editing here to let you know that this didn't take place in the US. I made the program during my spare time at home, on my own computer. After introducing the program to the former factory chief, I was allowed to try it out on one machine and test it. The maintenance was done on my office computer. And after a few months, I was allowed to roll it out for the entire factory. It wasn't done overnight. There was lots of debugging to do. I have not heard anything from the company for nearly a year, so it would be weird for them to just suddenly come after me now. Just wanted to make that clear. This sounds like a classic case of, we're the company and we're going to do it right. Oh, we need to listen to the people that work there on the ground floor. Have you ever seen this happen? Let me know. Sued the HOA. They towed my truck twice off my property with updates. Click the video on your screen so you find the final fallout of this one, and I'll see you there.